Thanks everyone for joining us, new members as well as old members. It's my pleasure to be able to present to you something which I'm very passionate about, okay, and have been for 43 years. And these are known as the Bach flower remedies. Now, continuing from where I left off last time, I had pointed out that too many people are now becoming Bach practitioners because it's an easy way to make money, correct? And frankly, maybe because I'm an older person, I feel they neither have the seniority, maturity of having lived 30, 50 years, okay? And they may not have a background that is suitable to understanding the complexity of these remedies. Now, let me state right at the beginning, it's not that Bach remedies are themselves complex. What is complex event will in people with the same emotion will respond with a different illness. Such an easy task. Okay, you can't and then say decide, okay, this person has X thing and this remedy will work. There are 2-3 reasons, but for that I need to explain. Now, essentially, the flowers when they were ripe at the right moment, keep them in a bowl of water, spring water, and leave them in the sun. Sometimes flowers were boiled. Now, of this liquid, 2 drops were put in 30 ml of a mixture of organic brandy and this made a tincture. Of this, 2 drops are taken and added to 30 ml, again brandy water mixture, to create what is called the stock remedy. The original concentrate which you get ml water to create the dispensing strength. Right? Now, if you do the simple mathematics, you'll realize that at the end of this, why is this getting muted every time, Rajiv?
I wouldn't know. It is happening with your mobile.
So what have you, where was my last words that you heard?
Difficult to catch.
So what was the last thing that I said?
You just carry on, Vijay. You just carry on because it will be very difficult to.
Okay. So the main key thing is that, and this is important, that the process by which Bach remedies are made do not leave any great amount of chemical in the final, uh, liquid. So you are not ingesting a chemical to get an impact from that chemical. In fact, you can even apply Bach remedies to your face and hands and other nerve centers, and they will still work because essentially they now are an energy remedy. It is not a chemical process anymore. Okay? This is very significant because it explains 2-3 things. How do the remedies work? Okay. Now, we know from modern research that the brain has very distinct receptors, similar to the old telephone switchboards in the past, big board with multiple plug points. And as you plugged in your cable into the right point, you got the right connection. So when you actually activate these receptors, they release chemicals in the body which lead to the healing. So there'll be something that releases dopamine, something will release endorphins, something will release serotonin. Okay. And this is the way the body balances itself and in the process also heals itself. So the best way to understand what is happening is to think of the Indian sitar. There are certain strings on the top and there's a whole lot of strings on below that. When you pluck one string on the top, the matching strings below that will resonate. And that gives the sitar its unique sound. It's not the sound of the first string, it is the resonance that comes when the other strings are activated. Bach remedies work on this principle of resonance. They attach to the receptors that are appropriate and they create a resonance in the body. And that actually promotes the healing. Now, somebody will talk of chakras, somebody will talk of mantras and sound and vibrations, and all of that is probably correct because the body is actually an energy being. It is not a physical lump of something. So it can be approached at that energy level. And there are people who say that they can heal people long distance through energy healing. And, you know, this aspect of the human body has not been studied enough. Now, what controls this energy is actually the emotions. When we are happy, when we are positive, when we are hopeful, that emotion triggers different chemicals in the body. When we are tired, when we are fearful, when we are angry, different chemicals are triggered in the body. And I mentioned in the first talk that three very dominant emotions affect us the most. One is fear, the second is anger, okay? And the third is what we call stress in general. So if you're stressed about your business, you're stressed about your personal life or career, anything, your chemistry in the body changes. Same thing happens if there is fear. And the same happens if there is too much anger. A little bit of all these emotions is good. When they get to excess, then they cause us distress. We get acidity, we don't digest our food, we don't find the energy we want. All these follow from the biochemic response within the body. So practitioners need to understand what they are dealing with. And if you wish, you can also self-medicate. Bach remedies are safe. They do not have side effects because you are not ingesting any chemicals. But there is a caveat. They are actually activating your emotions and they're dealing with your emotions. And if somebody, for example, lost a loved one a few years ago, the remedy indicated would be Star of Bethlehem to heal that emotional hurt. But Star of Bethlehem can also throw back the hurt to you, bring up all that you have buried inside. Okay? And then people feel agitated. They feel the remedy has had a negative effect. That is not true. It's just a measure of how much emotion you have blocked inside. And this is why I personally say this. I'm not, everyone doesn't agree with me. There are certain remedies like agrimony, which are for suppressed emotions, but if taken carelessly, will cause huge eruptions. They can disturb relationships, you can destroy your job, they can cause all kinds of issues in your life because it's an uncontrolled outburst. The next remedy is Centauri. It's a very good remedy for people who get themselves pushed around. But the Centauri will make them push back. And if you're somebody working in a family business, getting very hassled by the way your relatives are treating you, it's not a remedy you can take casually. it will make you push back and you might create conflict where you can't handle it. Similarly, is a remedy called hornbeam. It's a wonderful remedy for anticipatory fear, fear before an exam, fear before a performance. But it is also a very aggressive remedy. Again, it makes you open up, push back, say things that you have kept bottled up inside you, and it could lead to conflict. Another remedy like this is wild rose. Wild rose is normally the remedy for apathy. When you've given up and you're not even trying to get better. Wild rose wakes up this inner energy that says, no, I will get okay. But in the process, it can be aggressive. You might go out and speak to a loved one or someone else and say, I am ill because of you. So be careful of wild rose. The last remedy is called wild oat. It's said that this is the remedy for the crossroads of our lives, when we are caught between two big decisions. Shall I stay married? Shall I get divorced? Shall I stay in this job? Shall I leave this job? Okay. And the thing with wild oat is that it will precipitate a decision. A classic case was a lady last year who called me and said some practitioner gave her a mixed bottle of 7 remedies. They don't tell you what is in those 7 remedies. And 3 days later, she walked up to her boss and almost gave a resignation. In a company she has worked with for 18 years, that too a major multinational, and that too in the middle of COVID. That was not the time to take a decision to resign. But she felt this very strong push within her, and she almost did resign. So wild oat is to be given ideally when a person has made up a mind, by and large. And then you give wild oat to strengthen that decision. Okay, you've decided to get divorced. Now you take wild oat. And it will clarify your mind so that there are no second thoughts. You don't normally give things like wild oat too early in the game. And I certainly never give agrimony until I have further first dealt with the underlying emotions, usually of anger. Once after 2, 3, 4 weeks, that emotion has come under control. Yes, you may definitely need to give agrimony because this person is suppressing emotions. It's also very valuable to deal with addiction of any kind, whether alcohol or drugs or anything. But it should be given after you have dealt with other emotions. It is never to be given as a lot of people do. They just look up the book, oh, person is suppressing emotions, give agrimony. And then people get negative reactions and they turn away from Bach remedies. I can honestly say I have not had negative reactions from a person in the last so many years because I don't, run like a bull in a china shop and simply give remedies at random. Very careful to first deal with emotions like anger and fear and stress, and then deal with these emotions. Okay, and 9 out of 10 times they don't create an outburst, but they do the job because this person by nature suppresses emotions. It allows that person to open up. It can be very useful with children when they're in their teens, when they're not talking about what they really feel. And very often, one dose of agrimony will make them come out with what is troubling them from inside. But again, as I said, to be used with caution. Otherwise, Bach remedies can be taken quite casually. There is no question of an overdose. I have literally, to test this matter, taken a whole bottle and literally drunk it. Literally, I'm not joking. Because if I'm going to give to someone else, I need to be sure of what I'm doing. So you will not OD. You will not have a chemical or a negative reaction. But it is possible that you will feel the impact in your stomach, etc., etc., because the remedy will counter the negative emotions you're feeling. At that time, you have two choices. You can stop taking the remedy, which I don't like, or you can balance the remedy with a different remedy, which softens that impact, but continue taking it. Because the fact that you're getting a reaction tells you that you need this particular remedy. So, to this extent, self diagnosis, self treatment is quite safe. As long as you do this very coolly and rationally, and brings me to my next point, which is I don't like this policy of practitioners of mixing seven remedies. They listen to seven different statements in 30 minutes, make up a mixture, and give it to the person. I prefer to give remedies one at a time. So the person actually feels the effect of that remedy in full before they go to the next one. It's very simple. You can't give your brain too many instructions at one time. It doesn't work that way. It confuses the brain. And especially if you're giving what can be called contrary remedies. If you're giving the remedy holly because there is anger, you don't want to give remedies like Centauri and hornbeam, which will boost anger. Dr. Bach himself made only one mixture of five remedies, which he called rescue remedy, because it's not easy to get the remedies to be in perfect harmony. Now, let me go back to the music analogy. Remedies are vibrational. Therefore, like any vibration, they can complement each other or they can cancel each other. Whether it's light or sound, vibrations interact with each other. So when you select remedies for a person or for yourself, it's very important to select remedies that are in harmony, that are in the same key, that are trying to achieve the same result. And a classic example of this is the remedy holly. It is given for anger and for jealousy. But usually it is better to precede holly with the remedy beech, which is a remedy for intolerance. You then follow it up with the willow remedy, which is for resentment, anger. And then you give the holly. And it will be much more effective than if you gave holly on its own. And this you notice even in music again. 3, 4 strings are played at one time to create a chord. The sound of that chord penetrates better than the individual note itself, because now 3 or 4 notes are combining together to create a harmony. So I personally do not recommend mixing 7 remedies. Sometimes, yes, there are 2 situations you need to deal with, say anger and fear. And both are severe enough to deal with at the same time. Then you make one group of 3 remedies for anger, one group of remedies of 3 remedies for fear, and you alternate these every 4 hours. Give the previous group time to work. Let it have that 4-hour cycle to actually impact you. Then give the next group. If you just mix all 6 and dump them in, they will not have the same effect. And this is absolutely logical that the more you focus, the better. My teacher put it to me very simply, Ashok, a sniper's rifle is more powerful than a machine gun. Do your homework, think hard, think carefully, and pick the one correct remedy or group and deal with that one problem first before you attack 5, 6 problems at the same time. Always focus. And this is something that I hear very often from my cases. Hey, I'm feeling so good after just 6, 7 days. I've been taking remedies for a year and I never got the same effect. I said two things. One, I make you take them separately. I said two, you will notice I have chosen remedies that you will not have chosen for yourself, because I'm not going and attacking problems at random all over the place. I'm focusing on what we regard as the root cause. If this emotion is strongly prevalent in you, it will drive and affect all other emotions. Till you deal with that, you are not going to get the kind of results you're hoping for. I get this literally every week. I hear this from someone. Hey, how come I'm feeling so good? It's only been 5 days, 6 days. And I've not felt this way in 1 year or 2 years. One person even said, listen, 5 years I'm taking remedies. They don't do anything. And then she went, so I went to meet her. She lives next door. And then 5 days later, she posted, she said, this is wonderful. In 5 days, I have broken habits, released thought patterns, got proactive. I'm getting up and doing my life, which I never did in 5 years. And she says, now when I touch the bottle, I can actually feel the vibration. I can feel the energy in that bottle. And I call this mindfulness. It is no fun if you're busy in the kitchen cooking and you pop a remedy in your mouth. It's really not the way to do it. It's your health. It's vital. It's important. Take 5 minutes off. Sit quietly in a room. Take the remedy and listen, because every remedy gives you a message. Every remedy has what they call an affirmation. Now, I'll give you one classic example that works for me. Uh, I've had a tough life in some ways. Okay, I've lost millions of dollars. Forget all that. So it's been difficult. And once in a while, my mind gets into that state which says a lot of shit has happened to you, you know. And my immediate thought at that time is willow. I cannot feel like a victim. Life gave me education, X, Y. I've got two arms, two legs, two eyes. What am I complaining about? When you take the willow, to me, the message is very simple. I cried because I had no shoes till I met a child who had no feet. Gratitude. Instead of focusing on the negative in our lives, the Bach remedies help us turn that thought and focus on the positive. And that is where healing begins. And we start looking at the same events, and instead of getting upset, angry, fearful, whatever, we look and say, wow, my life's been very challenging, very interesting. I've learned a lot from it. You know, it's an attitude that is a healthy attitude. And today, all modern science is proving that people who have this positive attitude, who have a good supporting home environment, who are happy in their jobs, they're people who heal very quickly. They also fall sick. It's not that they don't fall sick, but they heal very quickly. Whereas people who are going home to conflict, to jhagada, etc., disappointment, they don't heal as well because that energy is not flowing in their body. And that is what this is all about. It's how, now see, you can use meditation, Reiki, X, Y, Z. All of them are dealing with energy in your body, including things like acupuncture. But these require tremendous discipline, years of practice before you can actually say, hey, I meditated. Just going and sitting quiet for 1 hour is not meditation. Right? Same thing with acupuncture, same thing with Reiki. There are not many masters in this world because it's not something that's so easy. Okay. The advantage of Bach remedies is they work for everyone, they work easily, As long as you select the correct remedies and you make that effort, and hopefully you are mature enough to do that, you will get a remarkable result. And this is both emotional as well as physical. Every time someone says, please help my son or child, they have asthma, I ask one question: is there conflict in the house? And each time the answer is, yeah, my husband is a violent man. He shouts, screams, and sometimes he hits me. And I said, your child has witnessed this conflict? She said, yes. I said, that's the root of your asthma. Because I had asthma when I was 20, in my 20s. It took 3 years to get through with homeopathy. But I got over the asthma in an instant when my mind simply said, stop thinking the way you're doing now. Just stop it, finished. And that's when my doc told me, he said, Ashok, it took so long with homeopathy because we can't address the emotional layer directly. With Bach remedies, we go straight to the emotional layers. I would have fixed this asthma in 3 months. It is not incurable. There are very few diseases that are incurable. The body will cure itself, but you must trigger the body the right way. Correct? And the results are quite remarkable. I said, even at like last year, I had a bad accident. I thought I had broken 3 ribs in the front. I applied Bach remedies externally. Rested for one day. Third day, I went to office. But after about 11 days, I went to the hospital. I said, can I get a high resolution CT scan? I'm feeling some discomfort in my back. The lady looks at me after that and said, how are you standing here? I said, meaning? She said, how are you physically standing in front of me? You don't have 3 broken ribs in the front. You have 8 ribs broken in the back. You have 11 fractured ribs. How are you standing up like this? And why is it that in 11 days, I can see calcification on the bones? This normally takes 2 months. I said, madam, you won't believe me if I tell you. So, just let it be. But I've used Bach remedies. I've applied them physically. I've taken them internally. And literally within 11, 12 days, I'm back to normal. Okay? I'm still going to be careful for the next month or two because I come from a medical background. I understand that bones take time. Okay. I'm not going to aggravate things by doing anything stupid, but I'm back to normal. I'm back to work. Right? So, from the emotional level where people release their anger, they learn to forgive others, they actually learn to look at things positively, right to the physical. I've had one lady post few days ago, hey, this is remarkable. I just applied remedies to my face in my cream. And in 6, 7 days, all those marks and those acne marks and X and Y's that have disappeared. These are more powerful than most cosmetics out in the market. Okay. I've seen this with every physical injury. I've seen this with every emotional injury. And as I said, I've been through some difficult times. And I've learned, each time I've learned more about the remedies because I had to heal myself. And that's when I would discover, oh, this remedy does X, Y, Z. And I'll be honest with you, I practiced on myself for 2 years. 2 years, not 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 months, but 2 years before I ever gave a remedy to a third party. It took me a long time to understand what these remedies are, what they're doing, how they're doing it, correct? And if I can't heal myself, I can't heal others. Very simple principle.